Welcome to another episode of the podcast from the Cow Lake Center of Effective Preaching. My name is Tyshawn Gardner. I serve as Associate Professor of Preaching at Truett Seminary and Assistant Director of the Cow Lake Center for Effective Preaching. We are so excited today because we have none other than Bishop Vashti Murphy McKenzie. First, let me thank you for coming.
Well, thank you for having me. And it's great to be back at Truett again and to see many familiar faces. Yay. Love the conference, as I believe every preacher ought to roll in and sit under somebody else's preaching,
Right.
And hear the word of God.
Right, right. So there could be a very, very small chance that someone watching this may not know you. So tell us a little bit about your life, where you're from, education.
All right. Well, my life is very, very simple. It's easy to say. I am Vashti Murphy McKenzie because McKenzie is my married name. Smith was my maiden name. Mm-hmm. I grew up in Baltimore, on the west side of Baltimore. And anybody from Baltimore knows you're either east or west. And
okay.
So this is the west side of Baltimore. Went to Baltimore City Public Schools. Mm-hmm. Graduated from Eastern High School, went to University of Maryland, graduated from there, College Park, and from there went on to Howard Divinity School and then United Theological Seminary. One of two, Ida and Ed's baby girl, mm-hmm. an older brother, and I guess I was, just a regular kid, tomboy, okay. Who is a beneficiary of Brown versus the Board of Education, mm-hmm. which simply means that in the fifth grade, mm-hmm. Everybody had the bright idea to bus us from our elementary school, which was like 2 blocks away from my house, all the way across to the other side of town, okay. At 6 o'clock in the morning to compete with kids who slept until 8. Wow. And so from there, as I said, I was a history major in undergraduate, mm-hmm. And here I am today. Okay, and we're blessed and we're beneficiaries of that. Mm-hmm. So tell me a little bit about your call story. When did you know that the Lord's call was on your life? I like to share that there are several calls mm-hmm. In my life. It's not just one call to preach. I believe there are several calls. Mm-hmm. I would be what you call a second generation preacher. Mm-hmm. I didn't, there are no other, at that time, mm-hmm. I didn't grow up among preachers. Father, mother, sister, aunt, mm-hmm. uncle were not preachers, mm-hmm. but I was a church child. Mm-hmm. And I say that because, at 5 years old, barely knowing how to read, I just knew I had to be in the choir. Mm-hmm. And so I'm singing in the choir with the grown folk, and I would go to choir rehearsal and memorize the songs, and the older ones would find the page, so it looks like I'm really reading the page, and find the page in the hymn book, and right. I would sing songs that I memorized before. And just grew up in church, loved church, the door opened and there I was. Mm-hmm. The difference was I had a relationship with the church. I didn't have a relationship with Christ. So I call it churchianity. Mm. I love church culture, love the hymns, love the songs, love the ministry, love the work, love the fellowship, the children's ministry, the teen ministry, all of that. That's culture. That's church right. culture. Right. And so the first call I would say is giving my life to Christ, is hearing Christ, the scriptures that you memorize as a child. God so loved mm-hmm. that he gave. Mm-hmm. And then, how it happens is that one day you read it and it takes on new meaning. Mm-hmm. It is not like God so loved the world. God so loved me. Mm. Me? Yes. Yeah, God so loved me that he gave me, Jesus, that whosoever, when I believe, I will not perish but have everlasting life. Wow. And that's the first call that took on new meaning. Mm. And so I became a Christian, not a churchianity. Mm-hmm. I was in Christianity. Mm-hmm. The second call came much later in life. Mm-hmm. I was a very happy journalist. I grew up in a journalist family, mm-hmm. Editors, writers, marketers, everything. Mm-hmm. Just as I was at church growing up, I was also at the Family Business, which is a newspaper, the Afro-American newspaper. So after school, I was, working with my mother in advertising. I was in the marketing department. I was in the morgue filing photographs and articles. I was hanging out on city desk. I was learning the switchboard with Miss Susie, all of that. Just learning, just being there. trying not to be bored. So I kind of learned everything that there was to learn. And so I was very happy with life. And then I had my burning bush and my Moses moment. And that is when I got a call that said, hey, we're starting a brand new gospel radio station, Christian radio station. We call it Message Music, and we think it's you. And I said, hey, that's really nice, but I have no broadcasting experience whatsoever. We think it's you. I love gospel music, been at it up for a long time, but I don't know your playlist. We think it's you. At that time, years ago, you had to have an engineer's license to be on the air.
Okay.
So I said, I don't have a third-class engineering license. No problem. We'll hire an engineer to run the board until you learn and study and get your license. Okay. I don't have street cred. I don't have any road, so am I the only newbie in the lineup of people who are going to be on the air? Yep. Everybody else has experience. Yep, we bring in people from out of state, out of town to be in there. How am I going to hold, how am I going to hold my head up among all these professionals?
Right.
We think it's you. That was my Moses moment.
Okay.
And I said, okay. I mean, you just got, you keep making excuses, and the excuses keep being pushed aside.
That's right.
So I said yes, and survived my first year. Learned everything, you learn everything that you can. Had a great morning man who took an interest and said, because every time they opened the mic, I was going, you get, and people say, don't worry about it. There's only 55,000 people listening to you this morning.
But don't worry.
No, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. No worries, no worries. And so I grew in broadcast ministry, owned my hour, owned my shift. I was in midday. Went on to afternoon drive, went on to be program director, operations manager, general manager, corporate vice president of programming with 6 Christian radio stations in the Midwest. And that was my ministry. I believe that was my ministry. That was what I was called to do. I'm going to own a radio station. I'm on my way to owning, da-da-da-da-da. And then radio became my burning bush moment.
Wow.
Burning bush. Because every time I open the mic, I'm supposed to be playing music, and now I'm talking. And then something happens, and you're up there talking, and you're talking to go, the program director says, McKenzie, you're supposed to be playing music. You're up here preaching. Oh, no, I'm not. No, I'm not. And so it became my burning bush moment.
Right.
And I turned aside, and God says, no, I'm calling you to preach.
My.
This is a part of you serving me, but I have something else for you to do.
Right.
And which means I have to go back to school, got to go to seminary. You have husband and children. Your husband, you tell your husband, God has called me to preach, and I'm going to have to back out of this wonderful job position with the most money I've ever made in my whole entire life, and I got to go to seminary. And he's going like, what? Are you kidding me? You're not. You're serious, right? So I did. The next call was the call to the episcopacy, which was something that was never on the radar screen. I just wanted to be the best preacher I could, the best pastor that I could. And then increasingly, God kept giving visions that were not just for this congregation. It was not just for the community that surrounded the congregation. I soon realized they were models of ministry that were to be replicated on a larger stage. So I went from preaching with my home church to preaching in a pastorate to now being responsible just for the word that you're preaching, the people you're preaching to being responsible for a congregation, a community, and now being responsible for hundreds of churches in a state, in a country, several states. And so now, as the President and General Secretary of the National Council of Christian Churches in the USA, NCC, then that is another expansion of ministry. So it's not just one church, one community, several states, a couple of countries, a couple of hundred churches, to providing executive leadership for 100,000 congregations, 37 denominations, and 30 million people.
My Lord.
So I say it's several calls.
Yes.
It's never just one call.
It's never just one. You were the first woman elected as bishop of the oldest African-American denomination, the AME denomination church. Can you tell us about that experience and what was it like to embrace that moment? It was indeed a historical moment. And how did you feel in terms of your vision for the church during that time that you served as the bishop of the AME Church?
Well, it's one of those never in my wildest dreams.
Okay.
Like I said, all I wanted to do was be the best preacher I could and the best pastor I could. I'd go home, go to sleep at night, and be real good, right? But as I said, increasing models of ministry. And I think I ran just as hard from the episcopacy as I did from the call to preach. Because I love my church and love the people. Every congregation I served was just, was absolute blessing. That doesn't necessarily mean that you don't have burdens and they're not issues and problems. My Episcopal father in the ministry said to one time, if they weren't problems, they didn't need you.
Wow, my Lord.
So
true.
They're problems, and so you sent there.
You're assigned to it.
You're assigned to it, and to help them with it. So I ran just as hard as I could, and then it happened one Sunday morning. One Sunday morning, we have in the Methodist tradition we have annual conferences,
Right.
and we come and bring our annual report. And as my habit in a 20-year pastoral ministry. At the Sunday immediately following the annual conference, I would lay out the vision for the year. This is where I believe God is taking us. These are the things we need to do. These are the resources, both human and financial, I think we're going to need. This be a great reveal. This is the theme. These are the points in the theme, and all of that. And I'm standing in the pulpit, and I'm giving the vision, and then all of a sudden it was sort of like, God said, you understand that this is not just for this church.
Wow.
You understand that what I'm giving you is not just for this congregation.
Right.
And I've been giving you all of these visions and all of these models of ministry that need to be replicated on a larger basis. And I just stopped and I just started to cry. Now, rule number one, never let them see you sweat.
That's right.
And never let them see you cry.
That's right.
Period. Right? And so I'm breaking all the rules, right? I'm standing there and I'm talking and I'm, tears are flowing down. My husband's going like, what's the matter? And people were just stunned. They were just stunned. And they knew it was a moment before I knew it was a moment.
Right.
They could see it.
They could see it. They could sense it.
They knew that, she just got called to something.
Yes. Ooh.
And what we would call an executive pastor now was sitting on the pulpit behind me, and she stood up behind me and said, God just called you to the Episcopal, didn't he? Yes, he did. Yes, he did. Yes, he did. Yes, and my son gets up out of the congregation and comes and stands at my right. My husband comes up and stands at my left and going like, we don't know what's going on. But we know something just happened. And that's how that call arrived. And so in our tradition, you're not appointed to bishop.
Right.
You're elected.
Yes.
And every 4 years is the general conference. 1,800 delegates come from all over the world. And you have to campaign just like you running for the President of the United States. That this is the ministry. Don't elect me. Elect me for what I've already done as a down payment of what the Lord would have me do as a bishop.
Right.
The track record is an indication of what can happen. So all of these models of ministry, all the forward thinking, all the barrier breakers in ministry, these are things that can happen on a larger scale.
Yeah.
And the church responded and elected me.
Yeah. Okay. I have to ask you about preaching, phenomenal preaching. I was a student at Beeson Divinity School when you came and delivered a commencement address. But you are a journalist.
Yes.
How has journalism influenced your methodology of preaching
The hallmark of journalism, of course, yes, it is. It's a strong foundation for preparation in preaching. To write a story in journalism, you have to do your research. You have to check your data. You got to do your fact checks and all of that. So all that comes to play when you are working on a sermon.
Right.
You know, where you, Kane Hopefelder was one of my professors at Howard Divinity School. And you know, in his framework, you have to at least have a minimum of 10 commentaries to take a look at the same text. And then after you do that, put it away and say, God, what new revelation do you have for me?
Wow.
To preach a word, the same text, same book, same 66 days. There ain't nothing new. That everybody, everywhere, every preacher stands up and preach every Sunday or every Wednesday or every Tuesday, whenever it is. The same book.
Right.
And so what revelation are you giving me? What perspective are you going to give me that's going to tell them that they ain't never heard before? And that's one thing. In journalism, when you write, it's always the who, what, where, why. The 5 things, who, what, where, why. If you put those things in your sermon, you know, who did it,
right,
why, how, what, and where it happened. That's a good training ground to put your things succinctly in place. Broadcasting taught me to say a whole lot in a little bit of time.
Great.
You open the mic, you got 2 minutes. If you can't say it in 2 minutes, that's it. The red light comes on and the program director pulls your plug, right? That's all you have. And so that helps you to say a whole lot in a little bit of time. What journalism also taught me is like, how do I get into the text? How do I get into the text without losing the people? So there are all kinds of approaches to preaching. The exegete approach, the narrative approach, you know, there are many different approaches. I think I said it in the sermon. We all don't preach alike.
That's right.
We all don't sound alike, thank God. And we all don't approach the text the same way.
That's good. And that's good.
The same way. And for me, I grew up listening. Remember, I was church town. Remember, I was there since 5. I don't remember not one sermon growing up that young. I don't remember one. Because at that time, in that generation, you're talking about growing up in the 60s, 50s, you know, and growing up, at that time, there was a different way of approaching the text. One that had no relationship to my little young life. So you're sitting there Sunday, and this is the eschatological relationship between, well, you lost me at eschatological.
Right.
You know, so what was being said didn't relate to life.
Right, to your experience.
Right. So when I talk about communicative opportunities, I'm referring to preaching as a marriage between the truth of the gospel and the truth of lived experiences. So this text, how do I begin this text that'll keep them interested until I get to the exegesis? And so everything, the preamble to the exegesis is not detached from the exegesis, it's there. But what happens is I put the hermeneutic transfer in the front and then the exegesis. Why? Because I want you to stay with me. I want you to pay attention.
That's right.
I don't want to lose you. So when I get to the exegesis, then you say like, oh, that lines up, that's in the text.
That's right.
Of course it is.
Right.
Of course it is. And then at the end, all right, and this is why it's important to you.
I love it. I love that. Let's pray for Bishop McKenzie and her work, her very important work. And don't forget to subscribe to this YouTube channel if you're watching by way of YouTube. Thank you, and Bishop McKenzie, thank you.